Okay, well, hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this webinar session. My name is Fernando and I come with the Region 9 Head Start Association, and I am happy to be your webinar host today. So feel free to contact me via the chat option of Zoom with any logistical questions you may have regarding audio, video, or any connection issues. Please note that due to the current situation related to COVID-19, our webinar platform Zoom is experiencing a lot of traffic. So if during this session you experience any lag or connection issues, we apologize in advance. As a registered attendee, you will have the ability to log out and back in with your credentials as long as the room capacity has not been reached. If you have any questions, please visit our website to contact us, and we're happy to assist you in any way we can. This webinar session will be recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption within 24 hours. You may find the recording up on our YouTube channel, which can be found by visiting our website at www.region9hsa.org. Then you will scroll all the way to the bottom of the homepage, and there you will find a link to our YouTube account. Resources tied to this session, such as the certificate of participation, PowerPoint slides, and any other materials, can be found on our website as well. To access the page tied to this session, please navigate to the Learn tab and click on the COVID-19 page. There you will find a link to this session plus any other previous webinars we have hosted in the last few weeks, as well as any upcoming ones that you can still register for. An email reminder with all of this information will be sent out to all registered attendees 24 hours after the live session. We encourage your participation today, so feel free to send us your questions and or comments via the Q&A option of Zoom, and we will try our very best to address them live when the time permits. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our topic for today, math strategies for home settings. And our speakers today will be Jenny Lerner and Lana Hansen. Take it away, Jenny. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Fernando, and thank you for Region 9 for doing this webinar. My name is Jenny Lerner. Welcome to the webinar Math Strategies to Use at Home. And Lana, Hansen, and I will be presenting the webinar. I work for Kids Play Math, a program from the University of Denver, and we provide on-site training in early math, online, and also on-site training. I let Lana say something about Lana owns the learning carpet. So Lana, can you say something about you?
I better take the wrong button off. I clicked when I should have clicked. Hi, my name is Lana Hansen, and I am owner of the Learning Carpet. I provide training and specific tools for preschoolers, preschools and elementary schools. And my job is really to help kids think, learn, and collaborate, and really learn those critical concepts using purposeful play and discovery activities. So I'm just so honored that I get to talk with you all today and work with Jenny and with Fernando, because we're all really in this together. We just want to be that right kind of support. So thank you for the opportunity to join.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the PowerPoint and hope this. Okay, so the agenda today is we're going to talk about why it's important to learn early math, how children learn to count, and then fun games to use at home to help children understand counting, and questions and answers as we present this information. And again, all of this information will be, Fernando will share it with you, the PowerPoints and the videos that we have here. So why is math important? And why, and how can we improve math for children? So we know that preschool knowledge of mathematics predicts later school mathematics success in 5th grade, not only in math, but even in literacy. So if the kids do well in pre-K in math, that means they're gonna do very well in 5th grade. And in math and literacy. And what is really nice is that with simple games, then that will help your children to get better in math. So we wanted to give you some concrete examples about this. So what is this called is the learning trajectory of counting, but what really it means is how do kids learn how to count. So first, you know, they learn how to say the number words, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then they learn one-to-one correspondence. So if I count, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm touching each object one time as I was counting. Then they understand how many elements are in a set. So if I count, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you're counting with your children, you may ask them, so how many? And the kids will go, 1, 5. So that means they understand that they are 5 in a group. It's the understanding of how many. And then this is like teacher talk. It's called like, that means counting to cardinality. It means they understand the group, and that's called cardinality. Then the next one is counting out objects. So that means that you can ask a child to give you 1, 2, 3, 4. It's even harder than understanding how many. Then the next step is understanding that one more is the next number. I think I have to start my video again, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna do that.
You're back on, Jenny.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Okay, so then you see that the first thing is saying the number words, and that's the first step. So a kid may be able to say the number words up to 50. One-to-one correspondence is actually harder, where they need to touch each object only once as they count it. And so that may be that the kid only knows to 8 because it's harder. Understand how many, again, how many, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how many? 5, and you see that 5 is the total that you have in the group. That's even harder, so that may go to 5. And counting out objects is, can you give me 4, can you give me 5, and usually that's even harder. So try this with the kids, because sometimes we just assume that because the kids know how to say the number words, they know how to count. And that's not the case. This is the trajectory for them on learning how to count. Okay, I just went through this very, very fast. I just wanted to see if there are any questions or answers. And Lana, if you see somebody.
Absolutely. So Jenny, right now we don't have any questions up on the board, but I think it really bears talking about that again, this is how kids really learn, and that oftentimes we can try to go, you know, too fast or too far. But when we get kids to say the number words correctly, that's a skill that supports their ability to count. And then that ability to do that one-to-one correspondence or say the right word as they move one object, that's the next level. And then finally have that understanding of that group is 5 versus just being that last number they counted. And then finally being able to count out to a specific item. And I don't know about you, but that wasn't something early on in my teaching days that I learned about. And it's just recently that we've learned how critical these beginning steps are.
That's great. Thank you, Lana. This is very, very important. And just one more comment. As you see, it is complicated. So it's better with preschool children to start with smaller numbers. So go deeper before you go higher, right? So as the kids are learning this.
Absolutely. And we just have a couple questions that just popped up.
Okay.
Where does subitizing fit in? And so really subitizing, it connects, and it's a skill that connects to all of this because it allows for that automatic recognition of a quantity. So all of these things are so interrelated. So yes, we want that. We want a child to be able to look at a small group of items and be able to subbutize. And the activities that we talk about today are really going to help build that. So that's a wonderful question. And then we're also have another question about number recognition. And we will get to that. We actually have some games that are going to be supportive of that. So if we can just table that for a little bit, we can connect more meaningfully.
Right, and just know that number recognition probably should come maybe last because it's a more abstract information. So
Absolutely.
You may recognize the number, but that doesn't mean you know how to count. So really working in the counting process first, it will be more meaningful for the kids.
Absolutely. Okay.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
Jenny, why don't you continue, and I'll
Okay.
keep manning the questions and do my
Sounds
best
good.
to make sure that we answer as many of them as we can. Okay.
Okay, so here is some, everything we're gonna do today with the games will have representation of numbers with concrete representation, using your fingers in your home with the kids, using frames where you have frames and the kids can see how many objects, and the frames have 5 frames of them, as you see. So it's easy for the kids to group them and count them. And you see there the numerals, and that was going with the question that you asked, the numeral being the more abstract information there. Because you cannot really say this is a 4 by counting 4 objects, but with everything else, you can really count, and you can see how many objects are with the representation. And so this is really working with informal math that kids bring that they understand. And then numerals becomes more the formal math. And having to use baby mix once they understand the quantity, mixing it with the numbers. Why we use frames, and then it's 5 frames and 10 frames, because it helps the children group things, see things in grouping. For example, here, some of you may be able to see a 4 and a 3. And maybe some of you will see a 5 and a 2, but I am grouping it for you so that you're able to count very, very easy. And this is actually somebody asked about subbutizing. This is called conceptual subbutizing because you're grouping it that way. Okay, so now we're starting the fun. We're going with some of the games. So the first game is called the hula-hoop game. And this was a game that was presented by the Office of Head Start by Juanita Copley in 2018. And the way that you do this, you have a child and you will give the child 5 chips and tell him to stand next to the hula hoop. And then you tell him to take some step back. And then the child will throw the chips, and some chips will come inside and some chips will come outside, right? And for you, you don't have to have a hula hoop. You can do it with anything to make a circle, the yarn, whatever you wanna have. It doesn't have to be a hula hoop. It could be a box, whatever works for you. And here are some questions then that you can ask. How many are inside? How many are outside? How many in total? How many are brown? How many are black? Blue. And how many do you have inside? How many do you have outside? Do you have more inside or do you have more outside? Do you have less inside? Do you have less outside? Remember the less, because sometimes we forget to ask that. So that's one of the games. And you can also change the number of chips, change the colors that you use. Also, what you can do is even do it harder, where you can see, we could put a basket or a hula hoop, but where they cannot see when the chips go inside. So you tell them, here, we have 5 chips. And then the child will throw some inside, but then you have to ask, how many did it go inside? How many did it go outside? Now it got a lot harder because you cannot see it. So it depends where your children are at that point. And here is an extension that you can do. You can have a circle and you can ask the child to draw, how does he remember? What happened when he threw the chips? which ones were inside and which ones were outside. And this is very hard to do, but it's very beneficial because the children have to really go back and think of the counting process, the whole counting process. And as you see, you have one-to-one correspondent, you have to do counting, you have to understand how many are in a group, you have to, so the whole thing, this works with most of the steps of the learning trajectory. Okay, so I have any questions or answers or comments, Lana, on this one? I give you a little.
You know, so far we have not gotten any new things regarding that game or some of those other pieces. We do have one question that we haven't talked about, where it talks about are there websites or things that we can go to? And again, I want to reiterate to people that we will be sharing different things to do with classes, to do at home, absolutely. And we will get, at the end, we can provide you with some other resources. I think, again, what we really want to do to help all of you today is really to just say, how can we keep this playful? How can we do what really matters most? How can we do short little bursts of games and little things that really engage them into purposeful play? Because there's, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on out there that isn't as critical. So let's do what we know kids need. Let's find where they are, and then let's engage them with some purposeful play.
Great. And I wanted to say one more comment on this. This is a game that we use in the online component that we provide in Kids Play Math, and teachers really have used this with the kids, and they say they love it because it's interactive and they're moving and they're doing things. So this is one thing that many classes integrated in their lessons, and they seem to be, the kids seem to be liking it a lot.
Okay, Jenny, do you mind if I just pop in for another minute or two? And because we've had another couple things pop up.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, so we do have a question saying, is this just for preschool age kids or for all ages? And again, I think that's the key to this. You know, we want to help all kids. And so right now we're staying in those numbers that really are more of a preschool setting, but we want you to take these ideas and adapt them. And you can just as easily work with school age children, or you get to adapt and adjust based on the kids. So take our ideas, take our games, and then adapt it to meet the range of number or the numbers that work for your kids. Now, we really want to make sure that, you know, that sometimes we want to provide that rigor, and so we go too high too fast. So my caution for you is start at those numbers, and, you know, at the lower numbers, give them success to learn the game, give them that feeling success, and then slowly you know, adjust and go up, or you might have to go down and find out that they really aren't as solid in here. But it's about kids really building that firm understanding. Absolutely. And it's as good for, you know, a preschool setting as it is for a home visit, or for, you know, a home daycare, or working with parents, or working with caregivers. You know, we're just really looking at that. And even, you know, our beginning kids, our youngest kids from birth to 3, we can still start to do some of those pieces. We have to be really careful about what that, you know, the tools and the pieces that are accurate for them, but we can start to help them build that understanding of quantity. And I think when we can help them understand that 2 is 2 cubes, or 2 is 2 fingers, those are those things that we can start doing, you know, and it makes such a big difference. Okay, Jenny, it's all about you.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you for all your comments and questions and answers. Thank you so much. So here is another example. It's called Bunny Ears, and this is a popular game that it was done from Matt Recovery, and what it supports is looking at and decomposing number in different ways. So you tell the kids to put the hands like if they were if they were rabbits, right? And they put both hands together, and you ask them, please, can you make a 6? Well, like a bunny. but this is really hard. Why? Because they are not seeing the fingers and they have to come up with a 6. So in order to do that, you really have to have a good understanding of the quantity of 6. And you can use both hands when you do that. When you do that, just make sure that you start with, look that before that you move to be a bunny, let them do some exercise of show me a 6 where they can see the 6 with their fingers. And then move to, now we're gonna be rabbits, and now you're gonna show me a 6, so that there is a progression of first looking at the fingers and then doing it this way.
And Jenny, can I stop you on that?
Yes.
I apologize for interrupting, but there really are 3 different levels. And so that bunny ear idea, or when you aren't seeing them, that's the end of it. At first, you're gonna look, and when you say, hey, make me a 3 or make me a 6, kids will be building or counting it out individually, and that's okay. And then they move to being able to put all 6 fingers out at once. And again, we want them to be doing that so that they can see. And then when we feel like they have that ability to do it both where they can do it at once, then we up to that ability to now going back up on, onto their head. And the funny thing that you will see from a practical perspective, Jenny, and don't, you just tell me if I'm wrong, but if you say, hey, show me 4, and you have kids go like this, when you'll be able to tell, because they're going to be going like this if they can't really see it. But
Right.
Fingers are our first manipulatives, and we really need kids to have that ability to understand quantity. And then as they go throughout the years, we teach them to be faster than fingers. So please make sure you're working with this.
One of the parents told me today that he played this game, and what he did is he asked them, okay, so how many times did we wash our hands today? Obviously.
Oh, I love it.
This is right, like every day, it's a lot of times, but they were trying to do it with the fingers. So anyway, I thought that was funny. Okay, so then make another 6, right? So what is a 6? So really, if the kids are understanding and are able to represent a 6 in a different manner, they really are understanding the concept of grouping and how many, really understanding the concept of 6. So this is a powerful game, and thank you, Lana, for that addition of the progress of doing that. And then the kids can check and see what happened. Okay, so any questions on that or more comments?
We don't have anything new really popping up. We do have a question about, well, what do we do to serve children who have low to no vision? So when we think about how do we best serve all kids, how do we best handle that? And I think, again, when you can give those cubes, and some of these games will be coming next, I think when we can give them that tactile representation and we can provide those materials that allow them to, that really allow them to experience that quantity, I think that's when we're going to be supporting their needs as well. Absolutely. Because we've got lots of smart kids that have many different kinds of abilities. So then as the professionals, as the parents, what do we do to build on their strengths? And that's what we really want to do. So, okay. Jenny, we have one last thing. At what age do you fully recommend the bunny game to be introduced or used? And again, I think you can start that at a very early age. We go around, how old are you? How old are you? So you have kids show you first, and are they going, I'm 1, 2, or you have to build it. And then, ooh, how old? And then they go like this, and they can do the 2 there. And then it's okay to start with one hand and say, how old are you now? And we're giving them a little bit of practice at that and going from all 3 of those. So again, I think we're playing around with numbers, we're playing around with quantity. So, get started and see how the children that you are serving really react to it.
Thank you, Lana. This is great. Okay, so now we're going to give you videos that exemplify some really, really nice games that work with the learning trajectory of how kids learn to count. Just know that the videos have some, when you're gonna see the videos, there is some lagging, but Fernando will send the link with everything so you can watch them again. And Fernando or Lana, please let me know if we cannot hear them or anything happens, but I think it's gonna work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So just.
Now this is Jenny and I before we all became homebound, having fun. Oh, you know what?
Should I start again? Sorry.
We're good.
Hi, Jenny and I are here at home today, and as you'll remember from the presentation, how important saying those number words correctly are to really building future math success. So we're going to show you a couple games that really focus on that. The first one is ping pong, and I love to do that because we're really just helping kids to say the number words in practice, but in a fun way. So what we'll do first is we'll practice a range of number, okay? So let's start at 3 and count forward to say 12. And then we'll start playing ping pong. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's say it together.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
And then let's stop, okay? All right, so now we're going to practice and we're going to go back and forth. That's where the ping pong comes in. So, would you like to start or would you like me to start?
I can start.
Okay, why don't you start?
5.
Why don't we start at 3 and let's get started? Does that sound okay?
Oh, sounds
yeah,
good.
okay.
So 3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11.
12, and let's stop. We were successful on that one, weren't we? So,
yeah.
You know what? Now let's edge it up a little bit. So this time you wanted to start at 5. Will you go ahead and do that?
Okay.
Okay.
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
12.
13.
Oh, if I don't know what comes right after 13, then you know what? It's a great time for the team to come together and repeat a sequence. So let's start at 8 and let's help each other with that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Oh, okay. I think I'm ready now. Let's try it again.
Okay.
All right. I want to start at 6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
12,
13.
14. Oh, I got it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
And we want to continue to edge those numbers up carefully. But remember, stay in the lower range and really make sure that kids have those capabilities. The other thing you want to do is whatever you do forwards, you want to make sure you do backwards. So the next thing we want to do is try it with backwards counting. So are you ready? Let's start at 7 and count backwards.
6,
5,
4,
3,
2.
1. We did it.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for the next challenge?
Yes.
Let's start at 11. All right. 11,
10,
9,
8,
7,
6.
5. And let's stop. We don't always have to go to 1. We want to stay and just kind of make it playful. And again, we'll go back and forth and back and forth. And if kids make a mistake, we don't turn it into a big deal. We either repeat the number or we again say, hey, let's say that same area back and forth. Okay? All right. The next thing, once kids get really good at either going forward or backward, then it's time to add the second piece, and we call it thumbs up, and that means to count forward, or thumbs down, and that helps kids count backwards. So are you ready, Jenny?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's start. You pick the number we want to start at.
3.
Okay, watch my finger. Here we go.
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
10,
9,
8,
7,
6,
5,
4, 5,
6,
7,
8,
9.
10. And the fun continues. All right. There are lots of different ways that you can make this fun, and I know you're always looking for ways to add more movement. So Jenny and I are just sitting here, but you could be standing, you could walk around the house, and each time you say a number, you move a step. You could have your child hop on one foot each time they are saying the number. Really, just whatever you can do to make it playful. One last suggestion is if you have a deck of playing cards, is that you can flip over a card, and that determines where you start counting. So for example, we'd start at 3 and count forward. Ready?
4,
5,
6,
7,
8.
stop. Or the next day we take the larger numbers and we practice counting backwards. Uh-oh, we're starting at 9,
8,
7,
6,
5,
4.
stop. The fun can continue on in a lot of different ways. It's really just helping build those skills that build future success.
Oh, wait. Oops, sorry. So,
Okay, Jenny, thank you so much for doing that. I think, again, we apologize for the lag time. You didn't really get to see us in action. You got to see lots of starts and stops, but I think you can get that idea of just, again, being playful and going back and forth. We do have a question about what about dual language learners? And I think that's such a key thing for us to focus on. We want to work with the child's strength. You can build that whole idea of playing these games, and you can play that in their native language, and then we can also work to connect to English, to those, to that other piece. Again, we want to take what the child knows and build on that strength. Pardon me. And then we can also take a look at what is that, what do we notice? Are they very adept at counting or really fluent in their native language? And then we just need to take more time to link the two languages together. That's more of a language issue than a math issue. And then how do we best support that? So again, think about each child and what do they need, and how can we best support those strengths and build those areas to strengthen. So I think that's a really important thing to think about. That some of the pieces that that we really wanted to talk about with these two games would be to make sure that we know with these games we are just saying the number of words. So this isn't that true counting. We're just saying those words, but you have to say the right words to get the right answer to count, and then certainly to add and subtract. So that's why this is such a key skill. It really is that first part of that learning path or trajectory to talk about. And so again, we cannot emphasize enough, it's so important. You want to start with those smaller numbers and then gradually go higher when you see that your children really are able to, are fluent with that. And then, did you notice that we didn't always, when we were counting forward, we didn't always start counting at 1. Sometimes we started at 3, starting at 5. And that's another thing. You may notice kids doing a little, I like to call it underhand talking. So they might get a running start and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, that's really helping where they are and giving you some insight to that. So it's, they're used to that counting from 1. And when we give them that ability to not see it as like the ABC song, we're really helping them there. And the same thing with counting backwards. You want to make sure that you aren't always going 10 and going and doing what I call the blast off sequence, and we want to make sure we have different numbers and that we're seeing that the sequence really supports that. I also really want to talk about the teen numbers, or the numbers from 11 to 19 are especially challenging, you guys, because they do not follow the rules, and they don't play fair compared to the numbers in the 20s and the 30s and so on. So it's really important that we spend time making connections and giving them lots of practice there. 11 does not follow the same model as, say, 21 or 31. And so we really have to be careful with that. And so that's really important. Jenny, is there anything else you'd like to say about that?
I just wanted, so with the dual language, I just have one. So Lana just mentioned that, but just one thing, that even if you don't speak the language, you are using a lot of gestures and you're using a lot of representations in this case. So really using that concrete objects with them and gestures is very important for the dual language learners. And again, if you're working with the smaller kids, and you may need to start with smaller numbers like Lana and I did there, that's what you do. But if you think they know more, then you can go higher. So that gives you the flexibility of working at the stage that you need. So I think
is it okay to use fingers if you notice your child is struggling? It's okay to use fingers and to build as you go. And yeah, so again, what can we do that really supports your child, you know, and the children that you are working with? What makes the difference, and how can we really help them do that?
Okay. Thank you, Lana. So we're gonna show you now the next video.
Now we'd like to teach you a game that really helps to build those true counting skills, those one-to-one correspondence skills that build the foundations of addition and subtraction. So our first game is called Grab and Count. And Jenny, I'm going to have you take your hand like that vending machine claw, and I want you to take it and I want you to capture as many cubes as you can.
Okay.
And now drag it, and I want you to count. We're going to pretend that today each cube is a fish, and the fish is going to go into the ocean.
Oh, how cool.
All right, so, oh gosh, let's see. Okay, so now I want you to take them up. Will you take each fish one by one and put it in and tell me how many fish are going in the ocean, please?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Ooh, how many?
14.
14 fish in the ocean. Let's dump them all out, and then we could do it again.
Okay.
Now, the fun thing and the thing that you want to do as parents is every day make sure that you're changing things up a little bit. We have cubes here, but if you have Legos or if you have different small toys that are something that your child really likes, make sure that you're using that as their counting piece because it helps them to be excited. The simple paper plate, if you want to, it could be decorated so that it looks like an ocean, or then the next day it looks like a farm, or really whatever you want to do to make it be fun and happy and an engaging time. The other thing you can do is instead of always using a plate, use a bowl, use a cup, anything like that will really help to keep it so that it's a little different every day. And if you notice that your child is taking a much bigger amount than what they really are capable of counting correctly, then you can step in and use something like a measuring cup or another little glass to really help to control those counts. Again, what we're really wanting kids to do is to be successful and to do a little counting each day because it will really help them build the skills that will help them to be awesome adders and super subtractors in the future. So the next game is really the next step in the progression that we spoke about. So this really helps kids to, instead of counting all, to count to or to produce a specific number. And the game is called Flip and Count 2. So what you'll need is some cubes or, again, Legos or some other toy that works. Again, something else to move things to, and then some cards. We're going to use some cards that have different visual representations because we really believe in that. But if you don't have any of those lying around, a regular deck of playing cards will work just fine. All right, Jenny, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to have you do. Flip over a card, and we have to find out how many are on the card, and then your job is to put that many cubes into the bowl and count as you do it. Are you ready?
Oh, very ready.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
What do you see there?
Oh, I see. I'm gonna count it.
You do
This
it.
is fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, how many were there?
8.
Okay, would you get 8 and put in there, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Now, again, your child may do it perfectly or they may make an error. If they count and keep on going and go beyond 8, or if they make a mistake and don't get exactly 8 in, we don't turn it into a big deal. We just start and try again. So, how many were in here, Jenny?
8.
8. Okay. We got 8 here and 8 here. Let's dump them out and try
All
again.
right. Okay.
Okay, ready? Let's do one more. You're in charge. Ooh, how many are there?
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So this time you have to do 9. That's a little bit more, isn't it?
Wow. So I'm gonna try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10.
Let's check and see. How many do you think are there?
10.
Let's count them out and see if you're right. Okay, let's try it again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Uh-oh, last time you got 10, this time you got 9. Which one do you like better?
I think 9.
Let's try it one more time just to make sure.
Okay.
Because I like to be sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
How many do you think are in there?
9.
9. I agree. Nice work. And I like how you went back and checked. That's what mathematicians do. So again, you don't have to do this for a long period of time, but doing a couple of these every day and changing it up so that one day you're putting fish into the bowl, the next day it's bears into a cave, just mixing it up and letting kids really practice those skills while they're being playful.
Great. So Lana, are there any, so we show you 2 games here, so we put them together. So if there are any other comments or questions from the audience?
I've got some, and then you know I like to talk, so I'm gonna talk if you don't mind. You got to hear me a lot on the video. You just don't get to see me, you know, do things in a timely fashion. Darn it! All right, so we do have before we go to these, we did talk about on these other activities. Is this best to do individually or in groups, or you know, what's the best way? I've got to tell you that with the counting games and this kind of thing, I've done it both in an individual setting and with small groups. Again, if you've got a group of kids who are kind of like ability, or maybe, you know, sometimes not, it's okay to go ahead and work with these kind of ideas. And then it's, instead of ping-ponging back before, you know, 2 people, you go around in a smaller group or even the larger group. So again, you know, these are just ideas, but they can really be adapted into the thing that works best for your particular kids and their needs. And you can do it in all of those ways. So sometimes it's individually, sometimes it is that smaller group. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about for sure. Again, we're going to share some resources and website kind of things. And then we do have someone who wants to talk about the number 0 as a number on its own. I'm wondering about doing this. So Jenny, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Let's just kind of banter back and forth, because I know I have some strong feelings about it. So let's just let's talk about that for just a little bit.
So, well, with the number 0, you could bring the fact that there's no items there, but for the children from pre-K 3 to 5, that's a harder concept to understand. You can bring it up, but don't make a big deal yet because it's more developmental. So at this point, you can have some games where you say there's nothing there, look, there's nothing, and show that, but not making a big deal, because developmentally it goes more when they are maybe in kindergarten or first grade.
Absolutely.
In terms of early childhood. So
absolutely. And I think I would support that answer, Jenny. And again, you can have those pieces. So you may have a blank card that shows 0 fingers, or that shows 0 dots. Again, it's out there and it exists, but it is one of those more abstract things. So again, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to the age and the stage of each child. All right, so I'm going to talk, Jenny, for just a little bit about those last 2 games, grab and count, and then, flip and count, and grab and count. So those really talk about we talked about getting the number words right, and then the next 2 levels of that learning trajectory or path would be counting all. And so the game grab and count where you were that vending machine kind of thing, you were counting all that you could get. So that's an important piece to really work at. And we want to make sure that kids touch each object and move it as they count, because that's really building that one-to-one correspondence, you know, and that's so key. And then again, how do we want to make sure that we're following up with, and how many was that? Because it's building that understanding that if they count out 7, that 7 is a collection, and it's not just the last number they said. And that's something that requires practice. So that's really a key piece there. Again, we want to start with those smaller amounts and then slowly go up as kids develop that ability. And again, it's another great place for us to build movement in. So after they count out 7, you might have them go do 7, you know, 7 hops or 7 jumps or 7 jumping jacks, or, you know, something that they like to do. Again, we want to get that movement going, knowing that we're all, you know, really trying to support everybody's ability to get that exercise, as we are, you know, limited in some of the things that we do. So I think those would be some key pieces that I would really want to talk with there. And then the next game that where we flipped over a card and counted to a specific item or produced something. So count to or produce. This is, again, a key piece of that counting. Oftentimes kids get on a roll and they just keep counting and counting and counting. So we want to help them to really count to that specific number. And it is a big deal in their trajectory. And again, something that I didn't know existed for a while, because my training didn't really break down that beginning counting. And it's so critical as we are really giving the kids skills they need that build that firm foundation. So again, that's the small amounts, asking how many, building, you know, putting that movement with it. All of those are things that are great. And you don't have to have fancy cards to do it. You know, you can work with the playing cards, or you can just say a number, okay? So, you know, you have to work with what you have, and we're here to just give you an idea, knowing that we want you to really run with it. So that's what we can do. So yeah. That's
good. So that's great, Lana. And then the last thing I was gonna say is just to piggyback in what Lana is saying, is that, again, go developmental. You don't have to rush the kids. Make sure you work with them at the level that they are. If they are at 5, well, work with 5 and do many things up to 5, and that's fine. And once they understand 5, they're gonna move to other quantities, but they understand that. And then, because sometimes we tend to say, okay, 5, but I need to move them to 20 or to 30. No, you need to work at the level where the children are. That's very, very important.
Absolutely, Jenny. I can't say that enough. That was the mistake I made more often than not in my 28 years of teaching kids. And you know what, I did it with the best of intention, but it was after I started learning about these critical things that I realized my best intentions were not helping kids to really build that foundation. And they weren't providing the rigor. They were really helping kids to not feel good about what they can do, and to create those gaps that eventually had them not liking math and not making sense of it. So, you know, again, all we can do is really help them to be solid in what they know. And that also helps them to feel good about what they can do. So you know, and we get to have more fun. So who doesn't want to do that?
That's good. Thank you, Lana. Okay, so now we're going to do another one. And
so this next game is called All in a Row, and it really helps kids to really build that understanding of quantity as we're going from smaller to larger, and it's also helping to connect with numeral identification, because the regular deck of playing cards has both the clubs or the diamonds in a quantity, and also has that numeral on it. So what we've done is we've taken ace through 10, and Jenny, how many is an ace worth?
1.
You got it. So now we're ready to go. So we've mixed them all up, and now we're going to try to put them all in a row.
Perfect.
Would you like to go first?
Yes, that sounds good.
What do you have?
Oh, I have a 9, a high.
Where do you think the 9 could go?
I think like about here.
You think about right there?
Yeah, about here.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's put 9 there. If we have to
Because
move it because other numbers get there, that's no big deal. We could put 9 here, we could put 9 there.
Okay.
When it's the first one, you're always right. But I like to go first. All right, so here we go. I have a 6. Oh, I know 6 is smaller, so I'm going to put 6 over here.
Okay. Okay, I got an 8, and I know 8 is less than 9,
Okay.
and 8 comes after 9. So I think I need to have it next to
Oh,
it.
they're next door neighbors, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, look
Yeah.
at that. Perfect. All right, what do I have? Oh, I have an ace. I know that's worth 1. Well, that's got to go clear down here. I don't know if it's going to stay there, but it can go clear over there because it's tiny.
Wow, I got a 3. And I know it's less than 6, but it's more than 1.
Oh,
So somewhere, I don't know, about here.
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
I like
somewhere.
it. Perfect. All right, let's see. Oh, there's a 4. I think the 4 goes here. Now, don't worry if somebody makes a mistake because things will work their way out, or it's, again, another great way for us to have those conversations. So if you notice that, you might say, hey, let's count it and see how it goes. Ready?
Yeah, this is strange. Can we count it?
Okay.
1,
4,
3.
Ooh, that doesn't sound right to my ears. Can I change that?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Instead of the 4 going in front of it, it should go behind because I think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that.
All right.
Okay, your turn.
5. Okay, I think it goes after, so I think 3, 4, 5.
Ooh, I like how you did counting to help you with that. All right, 10. Ooh, that's a big number. 8, 9, 10.
Okay, ooh, we're almost done. 7, so, no, can I try? Because I'm a little bit confused. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, and 2. 1, 2. Oh, look at that. You know what? I'm noticing some gaps. Is there anything between 7 and 8? Or should they be closer together?
I think they should be
Let's put it closer together. And then we know 6 has to be closer together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh.
All of these.
I think we've done it. Look at that. We put them all in a row. Nice
All right,
work.
very good.
So another game that you can play is called number collections. So you will see that we still have the cards out from all in a row. Now you can either have your child make a collection of each quantity of each number, or you can just do some selected ones. So Jenny, today, instead of taking the whole table and doing all of it, I think let's just pick our 3 favorite numbers. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds perfect.
Okay, well, what's the first number you want to pick?
Okay, I want to go with 3.
Okay, will you make me a collection of 3 right below this card?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
And how many are there?
3.
Nice. All right. Can you do another one?
Okay, I'm gonna go for 7.
7.
And I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, and how many are there?
7.
7. Okay. What's your last number you want to do?
4.
4. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. This time you built a little bit of a tower and then you stopped, but
Yeah.
you still got 4 cubes, right?
I still have 4.
Okay, wonderful. So again, what you're doing is you're reinforcing that putting things in a row and really building and counting to or producing a specific number. Again, while we're engaged in play. And I can't emphasize this enough. One day you play with cubes, the next day you choose something different. It's all about helping your child to feel successful and really helping them to play around with numbers.
Okay, so in this one, we had two examples. One, we put them in order, and then we had a collection. And again, you start with the numbers that you want. It doesn't have to go to 10. It could be 1 to 5, or it could be 1 to 6. And then if you want to work with smaller numbers, when you put a collection, you ask them for the smaller numbers to put the collection. So I wanted to know from Lana if there are any other comments or questions related to these two games.
Absolutely. So Jenny, we do have a question that links this to what about writing numbers, assuming that it's later, that it's later on the trajectory. And I would agree. So again, the ability to connect the numeral to the quantity takes time. And then we also have to think about that ability to write that. And I think too often more emphasis has been put on being able to write the abstract symbol than building that quantity piece. And I think as educators, as parents, we really want to make sure that kids are understanding that math is meaning and math is quantity, and that we will link to that. So we do include some of those ideas, but we don't want that ability to trace or to write to really supersede the important work of building meaning and building those skills that really make a difference. And again, I'm coming as a former primary teacher in the public school system. I know I would much rather have my kids have an understanding of quantity versus being able to write an abstract symbol, but not having any idea really what that symbol did for them. So, it's that balance that we play, and yes, it's part of what we do, but it comes way after all this critical work. So I think
Thank you for that comment.
Yes, I think that's really important. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with those, with the two games we just talked about with all in a row, that it's so key, and Jenny, I know you talked about a lot of them. We want to make sure that we're having kids do the language that works from there. So bigger or smaller, or way there or way there, all of that really is take the language that kids are using, and then slowly adapt it to the more than and the less than, or the, this is the smallest, this is the least. Those, that's really helping kids to build that understanding. And again, as we're working with kids who are lucky enough to be learning more than one language, that adds to the complexity of all of that. So we always want to be mindful of there. And finally, with those number collections, and really with any of this, when you every day change it up a little bit. So I happen to have cubes, but the next day, if you have Legos, use Legos. If you have farm animals, use farm animals. If you have bears, use bears. The more we can change it up, the this. And when we, again, are encouraging kids to play around with numbers, this is what's helping them. And then it will be that moving to more of that abstract piece of being able to recognize the numerals, and then finally to write them down so that we can, work in that secret code of math that mathematicians have agreed to communicate. Then we're helping them really build that firm foundation. Again, there's nothing wrong with taking a deck of cards and also turning that into a sorting activity. So rather than it being just a sequencing thing, now I want you to sort it, and I want you to sort all of the 2s and all of the 4s and all of the 5s. That's a very important thing. Or now we're going to sort, put all the hearts in one pile, put all the diamonds in another pile, especially for you at home. If you are, struggling with those things to help kids be independent, those are some valuable things that kids really like to do. All right, Jenny, are we ready for our next video?
Yes, we are. So
let's do it.
I'm gonna do it now. Okay.
When you think about how to help at home, I like to think of games that you might already have. I have the game Headbands, and oh my gosh, I know that is a really popular thing to do. And usually you're trying to describe something like a soccer ball or a flower, but you can also change the cards out so that you're thinking about math. So all all you have to do is take the headbands, or if you don't have headbands here, you can just use a card and keep it from view. That works wonderfully. All right, Jenny, will you put a card so that I can't see what's going up on
Yes, for
here?
sure.
All right, so on this first one, I am going to ask, what is on the card? I'm going to ask different questions. So let's see. Is it bigger than 5?
No.
Is it bigger than 2?
Yes.
Okay. Is it bigger than 3?
Yes.
Ooh, I think it might be 4. Is it 4?
Yes, you're right.
Oh, look at that, because I knew it had to be between 3 and 5. So then we either trade jobs and she gets to wear the headband, or we can also play it a different way. Okay, next one in, and this time you're going to give me clues.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's see. First, I want everybody to see the quantity I have here. All right, I'm ready. Give me some clues.
Okay. Is smaller than 4.
It's smaller than 4. Okay.
It's a low number.
It's a low number. Okay.
It's smaller than 2.
Smaller than 2?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so it could only be 1, or it could be 0. I need one more hint.
Smaller than 1.
I think it's 0.
You're right.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, in addition to being really popular with your family, you can use this game to help talk the language of math.
And again, as Lana had mentioned before, this is a great game also in terms of the vocabulary. Less than, greater than, and then the kids can really figure that out as they go in. Any other questions or comment on that before?
You know, I think we're good. We're right at that 3
Yes.
o'clock mark.
That's
so
what I was thinking about. So we provided in this webinar, we explain how kids learn to count, and we provide you math strategies to use at home in a concrete manner, and you can change these according to what you need, making it developmentally appropriate, and I hope you can have fun with math and integrate these activities at home. And thank you so much. Thank you, Fernando, for the support. And maybe I'm gonna let Fernando then finish here.
Perfect. I just want to thank both of you, Jenny and Lana, for the wonderful presentation and your time. Also, thanks everybody for attending the session. I just want to take just a quick moment to remind everybody that this session was recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption within 24 hours. We will try our very best to get that up before 24 hours, but no more than 24 hours that should be up. And you are gonna find the recording up on our YouTube channel, which you can find by going to our website at region9hsa.org. You will scroll all the way down at the bottom of the homepage, and there you will find a link to our YouTube account. Resources tied to this session, such as a certificate of participation, can be found on our website as well. I'll be sharing the link a couple more times before we log out on the chat. But to access the page regarding this session, you will navigate to the Learn tab and then click on the COVID-19 page. There you will find a link to this session, plus any other webinars that have already passed, as well as any scheduled webinars coming up. An email reminder will go out to all registered attendees with this information. So if you forget, where to access the resources that you're looking for, watch for that email that goes out within 24 hours of the session going live. Once again, I want to thank both Jenny and Lana for their time. Thanks everybody that managed to tune in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thanks everybody again.
Okay, Fernando, have you cut them off just yet? Have you ended the session?
No, the session is still live.
Okay. Okay, you know, there's one last thing, so I'm going to be a dirty rotten rat and keep talking. But several people said, are there websites or resources that we can go to? So I think there are lots of different places that we can, we can look to, and good places. I do want to put just a little plug. If you like some of the games that we played, if you go to YouTube and go to the learning carpet, I have some different games that, and many of them are that preschool and primary age thing that you could definitely take a look at and see if these kinds of ideas resonate with you. And there's one person, Stacy, we did not address your question about what would be the best way to introduce these kinds of ideas to someone who an IFSP. And Jenny and Fernando, I'm going to let you work with that because that acronym is not as familiar to me.
Yeah, I don't know what FSP is either. Fernando,
Fernando,
do you know?
Do you know that one?
I am not familiar either, but let me write down the information.
Okay.
We'll follow up with that attendee.
Okay, wonderful. That was the one that we didn't get to do. Oh, I'm seeing something. Somebody said family service plan. Individual.
Oh, the family service.
Oh, thank you, people.
So again, the question was what? I'm sorry.
A child with disabilities or an IFSP. So what's the best way to introduce this to a child who has that?
So I think it's similar to the developmentally appropriate, just go by what they can understand. So maybe you need to work with smaller numbers, or maybe you need to work with a lot more representations so that they can understand the quantities more.
And there would be more repetition, and that's okay. And you know what?
Exactly.
It's about what does this child know? Because we want to take regardless of the child, we want to know what do they know, and there's their strength, and then what can we do to help strengthen his or her abilities. So again, I apologize for not knowing that acronym, but it's, it's about getting to know each child and having them really show us what they know so we can say, and here's what you need next, and we believe in you.
Okay, thank you again.
Okay, Fernando, I'm sorry to do that. I wanted to make sure that that was also answered. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you for addressing that. And again, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you hopefully on the next session. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.